There are relationships that look confusing from the outside, but feel impossible to leave from the inside. Two people hurt each other, misunderstand each other, repeat the same arguments, promise change, then fall back into the same painful cycle. Friends may ask why they stay. Family may wonder why they cannot simply walk away. Even the people inside the relationship often ask themselves the same question during quiet moments of exhaustion. Why is it so hard to split up when both people are unhappy? The answer is often deeper than love. Sometimes it is not just about romance, chemistry, or history. Sometimes it is about emotional patterns formed long before the relationship ever began. One partner may crave closeness, reassurance, and constant proof that they matter. The other may long for connection too, but become overwhelmed when intimacy feels too intense. One reaches out when afraid, the other pulls back when afraid. One fears abandonment, the other fears losing themselves, and together they create one of the strongest emotional push-pull bonds a relationship can produce. At first, it can feel electric. One person sees mystery, independence, and strength. The other sees warmth, devotion, and deep care. Each partner seems to carry what the other lacks. One brings passion, the other brings calm. One brings emotional intensity, the other brings distance that feels stable and controlled. In the beginning, this contrast can feel exciting. It can feel like balance. It can feel like destiny. But over time, what first attracted them begins to wound them. The more one person asks for closeness, the more the other feels pressure. The more the second partner withdraws, the more the first feels panic. The more panic rises, the more reaching out begins. The more reaching out happens, the more escape feels necessary. Without realizing it, both people become trapped in a dance neither one truly wants, yet neither one knows how to stop. This is why breaking up can feel so difficult, because they are not only attached to each other, they are attached to the hope that one more conversation, one more apology, one more chance, one more season of patience will finally create the love they both imagined in the beginning. They are attached to the dream of what this relationship could become, if only fear would disappear. For the partner who craves reassurance, leaving can feel like stepping into an emotional void. Even when the relationship hurts, it still offers moments of closeness, moments of affection, moments where everything feels right again. Those moments become powerful. They feel like proof that the love is real and worth fighting for. So when distance appears, panic follows. The mind starts asking painful questions. What if they stop caring? What if they move on? What if I lose the person I wanted most? What if I was not enough? Because of that fear, they may tolerate far more pain than they ever thought possible. They may excuse cold behavior, accept inconsistency, and keep returning after promises are broken, not because they are weak, but because abandonment feels more terrifying than disappointment. Losing the relationship feels like losing safety itself. Many people do not understand how deeply this fear can run. It is not always about the current partner. Often it awakens older wounds. It touches places where love once felt uncertain, unavailable, or unpredictable. So when the relationship becomes unstable, the emotional reaction can feel much bigger than the present moment. The heart responds as if survival is at stake. That is why they may obsess after arguments, replay text messages, analyze tone changes, and beg for clarity. They are not just reacting to one conflict, they are reacting to the terror of disconnection. And when the avoidant partner returns with warmth, attention, or affection, relief floods in so strongly that it feels like love has been restored. The pain fades temporarily. Hope returns. The cycle begins again. On the other side, the partner who pulls away often carries pain too, even if it looks different. Many assume distance means indifference, but often distance is protection. They may care deeply, yet feel overwhelmed by emotional demands they do not know how to handle. Closeness can stir vulnerability, dependency, and pressure that feels unsafe inside their nervous system. So instead of leaning in when conflict rises, they create space. They become quiet. They delay responses. They focus on work, distractions, or independence. To them, this may feel like calming down or regaining control, but to the other partner, it feels like rejection. It feels like punishment. It feels like abandonment. What makes it even more painful is that the avoidant partner may genuinely miss the relationship when distance exists. Once the pressure is gone, emotions become easier to feel. Longing appears in silence. Memories soften anger. They remember the warmth, the loyalty, the care. Suddenly they want connection again. So they return. They send a message. They reopen the door. They offer affection. They promise effort. And for a while, things feel beautiful again. The anxious partner feels chosen. The avoidant partner feels close, but on safer terms. Both believe this time will be different. Until intimacy deepens again. Then the old discomfort returns. The anxious partner senses emotional drift and reaches harder. The avoidant partner senses pressure and retreats faster. Neither person means harm. Both are responding to fear. Yet fear expressed through opposite behaviors creates the very pain each person dreads most. This is why these relationships can last far longer than outsiders expect. They are fueled by intermittent relief. Just enough love to keep hope alive. Just enough pain to keep insecurity activated. Just enough reunion to make separation feel unbearable. And because there are real feelings involved, it becomes even harder to let go. This is not fake love. It is often sincere love, tangled with unresolved wounds. That is what makes it heartbreaking. Two people may care deeply for each other, yet still hurt each other in ways neither understands. The partner who craves closeness may believe, if I love harder, they will finally stay emotionally present. The partner who needs distance may believe, if I can just get enough space, I will come back ready to love better. Both are trying in the only ways they know. But without healing, their efforts collide instead of connect. Many nights in these relationships end with tears on one side and silence on the other. One person feeling too much, the other feeling unable to show enough, one begging to be seen, the other wishing they knew how to stay open without feeling trapped, both lonely in the same room, and still they remain. They remain because memories of the good moments are powerful, because chemistry can be intense, because loneliness outside the relationship feels frightening, because the familiar pain of this bond can seem easier than the unknown pain of ending it, because people often confuse emotional intensity with destiny. There are moments when they almost leave, after another argument, after another week of distance, after another promise broken. They pack emotional bags in their minds. They imagine freedom. They imagine peace. Then a message arrives, a soft apology, a warm memory, a vulnerable sentence, a sign of effort, and suddenly the heart reopens faster than the mind can protect it. This does not happen because people are foolish. It happens because human beings are wired for attachment. We bond through repetition, emotion, hope, and pain shared over time. The relationship becomes part of daily identity. Letting go can feel like losing not only a person but a future imagined together. The anxious partner may fear no one else will love them the same way. The avoidant partner may fear no one else will understand them the same way. Both fear starting over. Both fear regret. Both fear discovering too late that they let go of something valuable. So they hold on. But holding on and healing are not the same thing. Many couples spend years repeating patterns because the bond feels meaningful while never asking whether the bond feels safe. They focus on love while ignoring the damage fear creates inside that love. They keep trying to save the relationship without learning how to change themselves within it. And this is where the truth begins to matter most. Sometimes the reason two people cannot split up is not because they are meant to be together forever. Sometimes it is because they are trapped inside a cycle that keeps mistaking pain for passion, relief for intimacy, and longing for proof. Real love does not require one person to chase while the other hides. Real love does not survive only in reunion after distance. Real love grows through consistency, honesty, emotional safety, and the courage to face wounds instead of acting them out. Until that happens, they may continue returning to each other again and again, wondering why leaving feels impossible, while staying feels painful. Because the hardest relationships to leave are often the ones that awaken the deepest unmet needs. And when love touches wounds instead of healing them, goodbye can feel like tearing yourself away from the very thing that hurts you. And when love touches wounds instead of healing them, goodbye can feel like tearing yourself away from the very thing that hurts you. That is why so many people stay long after the joy has faded. They are no longer holding on only to the person in front of them. They are holding on to the version of the relationship they keep hoping will return. They remember the laughter from the beginning, the tenderness after difficult conversations, the moments when both of them seemed fully present and deeply connected. Those memories become emotional anchors. They whisper that if it happened before, it can happen again. Hope is powerful, sometimes beautiful, sometimes dangerous. In relationships between anxious and avoidant partners, hope often becomes the invisible glue that keeps two wounded people tied together. One hopes the other will finally become consistent, expressive, emotionally available. The other hopes the relationship will stop feeling so demanding, so intense, so heavy. Both hope that one day love will become easy without either of them needing to face the fears driving their behavior. So they wait. They wait through silence. They wait through tears. They wait through mixed signals. They wait through promises made in emotional moments and forgotten in ordinary ones. And because hope keeps the future alive, it becomes easier to tolerate pain in the present. The anxious partner may tell themselves they are trying, they just need time. They may point to small changes as proof that healing is near. A warmer message, a better week, a vulnerable confession, a sudden burst of affection after distance. Each moment feels meaningful. Each moment feels like the breakthrough they have prayed for. The avoidant partner also lives inside hope, though it often looks quieter. They may believe once life calms down, once stress lowers, once work improves, once pressure fades, then I will be better in this relationship. They may truly mean it. They may want to love well. But because the deeper issue is not scheduling or circumstances, the same cycle returns again and again. Hope then becomes delay. Delay becomes habit. Habit becomes years. And one day both people wake up emotionally exhausted, wondering where the time went. This is one of the hardest truths in these relationships. Love can be real, effort can be real, intentions can be real, and yet the pattern can still be destructive. Caring for someone does not automatically mean knowing how to love them in a healthy way. The anxious partner often suffers in visible ways: sleepless nights, constant overthinking, tears after conversations that never reached resolution, anxiety when a message goes unanswered, a nervous system that lives in permanent anticipation, always scanning for signs of rejection. But the avoidant partner suffers too, often in hidden ways: guilt they cannot express, shame about disappointing someone who genuinely loves them, pressure they cannot explain, emotional numbness that confuses even them, the feeling of being seen as the villain when inside they feel lost and overwhelmed. This is why blame alone never heals the dynamic. Both people are hurting, both people are reacting, both people are trapped, and still they remain because hope tells them tomorrow might be different. Then there is another force that keeps them tied together: silence. Silence in these relationships is rarely empty. It carries meaning, fear, punishment, longing, confusion, and unspoken pain. For the anxious partner, silence often feels unbearable. When communication stops, the mind begins filling the gaps with worst-case stories. They do not care anymore. They found someone else. I ruined everything. I am being abandoned. I was never enough. Every hour feels heavy. Every unread message feels personal. Every delay feels like rejection. So they may reach out repeatedly, not because they want control, but because uncertainty feels intolerable. They are trying to restore connection, to soothe fear, to stop the emotional bleeding caused by not knowing where they stand. For the avoidant partner, silence often feels completely different. It may feel like relief, a chance to breathe, space from emotional intensity, time to think without pressure. They may believe stepping back is the mature thing to do. They may think distance prevents saying something harmful in the heat of emotion. But because each person interprets silence through their own wounds, the same behavior creates opposite emotional realities. One experiences abandonment. The other experiences self-protection. One becomes desperate. The other becomes more distant. And without realizing it, silence becomes a weapon even when no one intended to use it that way. The anxious partner may start protesting louder, sending longer messages, demanding answers, pleading for reassurance. The avoidant partner may feel attacked, misunderstood, crowded, so they withdraw further. The more one chases, the more the other hides. The more one chases, soon the relationship is no longer about the original issue. It is about surviving the cycle itself. Then comes one of the most painful moments of all: the breadcrumb. A short message after days of silence, a random check-in, a warm memory shared at midnight, a like on a photo, a simple thinking of you. To someone outside the relationship, it may look small and harmless, but to the anxious heart starving for clarity, it can feel like rain in a desert. Immediately hope returns. Maybe they miss me. Maybe they are changing. Maybe this means they care more than they show. Maybe we are finding our way back. This is why breadcrumbs can be so powerful. They offer just enough emotional contact to reactivate attachment, but not enough consistency to create security. The anxious partner becomes rehooked by possibility. They replay the message, they analyze tone, they wait for more. Sometimes more comes, sometimes it does not. Either way, the nervous system is activated again. This does not always happen maliciously. Many avoidant partners are not consciously trying to manipulate anyone. Often they genuinely miss the person. They feel lonely. They remember the comfort of connection. They reach out impulsively from emotion. But once closeness begins rebuilding, fear returns and they pull away again. So the anxious partner receives mixed signals that feel impossible to decode. Come close. Go away. I miss you. I need space. You matter. You are too much. No wonder confusion becomes normal. And yet, even in confusion, the bond can feel stronger than ever, because uncertainty intensifies attachment. The heart works harder for what feels unstable. What is inconsistent often becomes obsessive because it never fully settles. Then there is the strange truth. Many people in these relationships discover too late. The avoidant partner often feels the loss most intensely after separation. During the relationship, closeness may trigger discomfort, expectations may feel heavy, emotional needs may feel overwhelming, but once distance exists, pressure disappears. There are no immediate demands, no difficult conversations waiting, no feeling of being needed every moment, and in that emotional space, feelings surface. They miss the warmth, they miss being cared for, they miss the messages they once delayed answering, they miss the presence they once took for granted, they miss what felt overwhelming only when it was near, so they return when things are quiet. This can be deeply confusing for the anxious partner, who thinks if you loved me enough to miss me, why could you not love me well when I was there? Because longing and intimacy are not the same skill. Missing someone from a distance can feel safer than sustaining vulnerability up close. This is why some avoidant partners become affectionate after breakups, nostalgic during no contact, emotional when they sense permanent loss. It is not always fake. It is often the first moment they can feel without pressure, but if inner patterns remain unchanged, reunion recreates the same cycle. The anxious partner, starved for love, may receive this return as proof of destiny. They may think the separation taught lessons. They may believe pain has transformed everything. Sometimes growth has happened. Often it has not. So the cycle restarts with renewed intensity, because now both people carry old wounds plus fresh disappointment. And still, there are moments that feel so beautiful, they keep everyone confused. Late-night honesty, unexpected tenderness, tears shared in vulnerability, promises spoken from the heart, the way they hold each other after nearly losing each other. Those moments are real. That is what makes leaving so hard. If the relationship were only pain, it would be easier to walk away. But these bonds often contain genuine connection, hidden inside unhealthy patterns. There is real chemistry, real care, real longing, real memories worth grieving. The tragedy is not that there was never love. The tragedy is that love alone could not overpower fear. And many viewers know exactly what that feels like. To love someone who cannot stay open. To be loved by someone whose needs overwhelm you. To want peace with the same person who keeps becoming your storm. To miss someone while knowing reunion may hurt again. This is the emotional prison of the anxious avoidance cycle. Both people become addicted not only to each other, but to the relief that follows pain. The reunion hug after distance, the loving words after cold silence, the apology after chaos, the closeness after nearly losing everything. Relief starts feeling like intimacy. Drama starts feeling like passion. Uncertainty starts feeling like depth, and stable love can begin to feel strangely unfamiliar. But healing begins the moment someone recognizes the pattern, the moment they stop asking only, "How do I keep this person?" and start asking, "Why does love keep feeling like suffering?" Because that question changes everything. It shifts attention from chasing the other person to understanding yourself. It reveals that no amount of love can heal a cycle both people keep unconsciously feeding. And it opens the door to the next truth many people must face. Sometimes chemistry is powerful, but chemistry and compatibility are not the same thing. This is one of the most painful lessons people learn in anxious and avoidant relationships, because what they feel together can be intense, unforgettable, and deeply consuming. The attraction can feel magnetic from the start. Conversations may feel electric. The longing may feel endless. The highs may feel like nothing else they have ever experienced. And because the emotions are so strong, many assume the connection must be rare. They think intensity means destiny. They think obsession means love. They think the inability to let go means they have found something extraordinary. But intensity can come from many places. It can come from attraction, yes. It can come from shared wounds. It can come from uncertainty. It can come from finally meeting someone who activates emotional patterns buried for years. It can come from the nervous system confusing unpredictability with passion. That is why some relationships feel stronger than they actually are. When one person gives closeness, then distance, then affection, then silence, the emotional highs and lows create a chemical roller coaster. The reunion after pain feels euphoric. The warm message after coldness feels priceless. A single moment of tenderness after weeks of confusion can feel more powerful than steady love ever had a chance to feel. But that does not always mean the bond is healthy. Sometimes people are addicted to relief, not connection. Sometimes they are attached to the chase, not the person. Sometimes they are fighting for a fantasy version of the relationship that only appears in temporary moments. Compatibility is quieter than chemistry. Compatibility asks different questions. These questions are less dramatic, but they matter far more than butterflies. Many anxious partners stay because the chemistry feels too rare to lose. They tell themselves they will never feel this much again. They fear no future partner could create the same spark. Many avoidant partners stay because the chemistry allows distance and desire to coexist. They can feel deeply drawn while still maintaining emotional walls. The longing itself becomes safer than stable intimacy. So both remain captivated by a bond that feels extraordinary while quietly exhausting them. Then another fear enters the picture: starting over. For many couples, the relationship becomes painful long before it ends, yet leaving still feels terrifying, not because they are happy, but because the unknown can feel scarier than the familiar. Starting over means empty mornings. It means no messages from the person who became routine. It means facing loneliness without the comfort of possibility. It means rebuilding identity outside a bond that consumed so much emotional energy. It means accepting that years invested may not become the future once imagined. That grief alone keeps many people stuck. The anxious partner may think, what if I never find love again? What if no one chooses me like they did? What if I lose this person and regret it forever? The avoidant partner may think, what if I let go of someone who truly cared? What if no one else will understand me? What if I only realize their value when it is too late? So both delay endings that already live inside the relationship. People often underestimate how much routine creates attachment. Even painful relationships become familiar homes. You know their habits, their moods, their voice, their timing, their patterns. You know how to anticipate distance, how to survive arguments, how to decode silence. Pain becomes predictable, and predictable pain can feel safer than uncertain peace. That is why people sometimes return to relationships they know are hurting them. Not because suffering is desired, but because the heart often chooses familiarity over freedom until healing changes what feels normal. Then there are the childhood wounds that quietly shape everything. Many adults believe they are only reacting to the partner in front of them, but relationships often awaken old emotional memories long before conscious memory can explain them. The anxious partner may carry an old story that love must be earned, chased, or fought for. Perhaps attention once felt inconsistent. Perhaps affection came with unpredictability. Perhaps emotional safety was never stable enough to trust. So when a distant partner pulls away, the nervous system recognizes the pattern instantly, not consciously, emotionally, and it says, chase harder, prove more, hold tighter, do not lose this. The avoidant partner may carry a different story. Perhaps vulnerability once felt unsafe. Perhaps emotional needs were dismissed. Perhaps closeness came with control, criticism, or pressure. Perhaps independence became the only place safety was found. So when intimacy deepens, the nervous system reacts, again, not consciously, emotionally, and it says, create distance, protect yourself, do not get trapped, do not need too much. Now imagine these two people meeting. One seeks reassurance when scared, one seeks space when scared. One moves closer to survive, one moves away to survive. Neither person is evil, neither person is trying to destroy love. Both are trying to protect old wounds, using strategies that now damage present connection. This is why logic often fails inside these relationships. Friends may say, just leave. Family may say, just communicate. But trauma responses are stronger than advice. When wounds are activated, people do not always choose from wisdom. They choose from fear. And fear feels urgent. Fear feels convincing. Fear feels like truth. Then something even deeper happens over time. Identity becomes tied to the relationship. The anxious partner may become the fixer, the one who always reaches out first, the one who carries emotional labor, the one who believes if they can just love enough, everything will heal. The avoidant partner may become the independent one, the one who stays hard to read, the one who controls distance, the one who returns when ready and leaves when overwhelmed. Both roles become familiar selves, so leaving the relationship does not only mean losing a partner, it means losing the role you became inside the bond. Who am I if I am no longer trying to save them? Who am I if I am no longer protecting myself from closeness? That identity crisis keeps many people attached long after love has become confusion. And then come the almost endings. These relationships are full of moments where one person says, "I'm done," after another broken promise, after another disappearing act, after another exhausting argument, after another night crying beside someone emotionally absent. They mean it in that moment. They feel clarity in that moment. They imagine freedom in that moment. Then something shifts. The avoidant partner senses real loss and softens. The anxious partner senses hope and reopens. A vulnerable message arrives. A tearful apology appears. Promises are made with sincerity. Tenderness returns, and the person who was ready to leave suddenly questions everything. Maybe this time is real. Maybe pain was necessary to wake us up. Maybe we just needed one more chance. This is why temporary breakups happen so often in these dynamics. Separation creates enough pain to produce temporary change, but not enough inner healing to create lasting change. So they reunite stronger emotionally, but unchanged psychologically. At first, the reunion feels magical. Both are kinder. Both are grateful. Both try harder. The anxious partner relaxes because they feel chosen again. The avoidant partner opens because loss reminded them what mattered. For a brief season, it feels like the love story finally found its turning point. Then daily life returns, stress returns, triggers return, old fears return, and without deeper work, old patterns quietly reclaim the relationship. The anxious partner notices distance and panics faster now because they fear losing what was regained. The avoidant partner feels pressure faster now because reunion came with new expectations, so the next cycle can hurt even more than the last. This is why many people feel trapped in relationships that repeatedly almost end. They are not living one story, they are living many chapters of goodbye interrupted by temporary hope. And every reunion increases attachment because surviving loss together can feel like proof of love. But surviving loss is not the same as building health. Many viewers know this pain intimately. You leave but miss them. You return but suffer again. You know the pattern, yet still crave the person. You see the truth, yet still remember the tenderness. You want peace, yet still fear letting go. That conflict can break the heart slowly, because the hardest relationships are not always the worst ones. Sometimes they are the ones with just enough beauty to keep you doubting the pain, just enough love to keep you hoping, just enough connection to make goodbye feel impossible. And yet there comes a moment in every repeating cycle when someone begins to wake up, a moment where the question changes from "how do I keep us together" to something deeper, something life-changing. What if love is not supposed to feel like this? That question is where healing often begins, because for so long, both people may have believed the pain was normal. They thought love was meant to be confusing, unstable, emotionally exhausting, full of guessing games and survival mode. They thought longing was romance. They thought anxiety was devotion. They thought distance was strength. They thought suffering was the price of connection. But the moment someone asks whether love is meant to feel this heavy, the fog begins to lift. They start noticing the cycle instead of only the chemistry. They start noticing how one person's fear activates the other's fear. They start noticing how arguments are less about the surface issue and more about old wounds colliding. They start noticing how they keep returning to something that gives temporary relief but lasting pain. This is the turning point many people never reach because it is easier to blame the other person than to examine the pattern. It is easier to say, if they would just change, everything would be fine. It is harder to ask, why does this dynamic feel familiar to me? Why am I staying in something that keeps hurting me? Why does inconsistency feel so hard to release? Why does healthy love feel boring, suspicious, or impossible? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are powerful, because once awareness arrives, the cycle loses some of its control. The anxious partner may realize they have spent years trying to earn security from someone unable to provide it consistently. They may see how they abandoned themselves while begging not to be abandoned by another. The avoidant partner may realize they have mistaken distance for peace and independence for healing. They may see how protecting themselves from vulnerability also protected them from true intimacy. Neither realization is easy. Both require grief. Grief for time lost. Grief for pain caused. Grief for the relationship they wanted but could not create through old patterns. And yet grief is often the doorway to freedom. Then comes one of the biggest questions people ask. Can an anxious and avoidant relationship actually heal? The honest answer is yes, but not through love alone. Love may begin the relationship, but awareness, responsibility, emotional growth, and consistency are what heal it. Two people can absolutely transform this dynamic if both are willing to do real inner work. If the anxious partner learns to soothe themselves instead of outsourcing all safety to the relationship, if they learn boundaries instead of begging, if they learn self-respect instead of self-erasure, if they learn that reassurance from others can comfort, but security must also come from within, and if the avoidant partner learns that closeness is not captivity, if they learn emotional honesty instead of disappearing, if they learn communication instead of withdrawal, if they learn that needing others is not weakness, if they learn to remain present during discomfort instead of escaping it, then something beautiful can happen. The same two people who once triggered each other can begin healing with each other. The anxious partner can ask for needs calmly instead of desperately. The avoidant partner can request space clearly instead of vanishing. Conflict can become conversation. Distance can become healthy breathing room. Closeness can become safe instead of suffocating. But there is one condition many ignore. Both people must be committed. Not one carrying the emotional labor while the other stays passive. Not one reading books while the other repeats patterns. Not one apologizing while the other avoids accountability. Mutual healing requires mutual effort. Without that, one person grows while the other remains familiar, and growth eventually outgrows dysfunction. This is why some couples heal together, while others separate with love still in their hearts, because love can exist even when readiness does not. That truth is painful. You can care deeply for someone and still not be able to build a healthy life with them. You can understand their wounds and still need to walk away. You can forgive someone and still choose distance. You can love someone and accept that love is not enough without change. For many viewers, this may be the truth they have resisted most, because ending the cycle can feel like betraying the love story. But sometimes staying in the cycle is the deeper betrayal. A betrayal of your peace, a betrayal of your nervous system, a betrayal of the future version of you that deserves calm, reciprocity, and emotional safety. There comes a moment when one person finally wakes up fully, not angrily, not dramatically, quietly. They stop chasing, they stop over-explaining. They stop trying to force awareness into someone unwilling to see. They stop confusing patience with self-neglect. They stop calling chaos passion. They stop calling scraps enough. And in that quiet awakening, everything changes, because the anxious partner who heals becomes far less attracted to inconsistency. The avoidant partner who heals becomes far less afraid of intimacy, and anyone who heals becomes less willing to participate in old cycles, no matter how strong the chemistry once felt. This is why growth can end relationships that love could not. Growth changes what feels acceptable. Growth changes what feels attractive. Growth changes what home feels like. Many people think letting go is failure, but sometimes letting go is wisdom. Sometimes it is the first time you choose truth over fantasy. Sometimes it is the first time you love yourself as much as you loved them. And yes, letting go can be brutal. You may miss them. You may question yourself. You may romanticize the good moments. You may wonder if you gave up too soon. You may ache when they return softer than before. You may feel loneliness where chaos once lived. That does not mean leaving was wrong. It often means detoxing from a bond that trained your nervous system to equate unpredictability with love. Healing can feel empty at first, because drama is gone. Silence feels strange when you are used to emotional storms. Consistency can feel boring when you are used to adrenaline. Healthy people may feel unfamiliar when you are used to chasing unavailable ones. Give it time. Peace often feels foreign before it feels precious, and when healing deepens, you begin to understand something life-changing. Love is not supposed to cost your sanity. Love is not supposed to make you beg for basic care. Love is not supposed to punish vulnerability. Love is not supposed to disappear every time things get hard. Love is not supposed to leave one person starving while the other hides. Real love can have challenges, misunderstandings, hard seasons, and imperfections. But real love also contains repair. It contains effort. It contains consistency. It contains honesty. It contains safety. It contains two people willing to face themselves, not only each other. So why do avoidant and anxious partners find it hard to split up? Because they often meet each other exactly where their wounds live. One offers the chase that feels familiar. One offers the distance that feels familiar. Both trigger unfinished stories from the past. Both awaken hope that this time old pain can finally be healed through love. But unless those wounds are faced directly, the relationship becomes a stage where the past keeps replaying. And why is it so hard to leave? Because leaving means grieving, not only the person but the dream. The dream that if you loved enough, waited enough, sacrificed enough, stayed enough, everything would become what it was always meant to be. That dream can be harder to release than the relationship itself, but there is something on the other side of that grief: clarity, self-respect, calm, emotional freedom, the ability to receive love without chasing it, the ability to give love without fearing it, the ability to choose relationships that feel nourishing, not addictive. And perhaps the deepest truth of all, sometimes the greatest act of love is not holding on. Sometimes it is ending the cycle. Sometimes it is blessing what taught you, grieving what hurt you, and walking forward into a life where love no longer feels like survival. If this story feels personal to you, then maybe your heart is not broken because you loved the wrong person. Maybe it is waking up because it is finally ready for a healthier kind of love.